The
Everybody
city
stay
was
calm.
alive with the usual midday
Nobody
rush.
move.
Cars honked outside. People hurried along the sidewalks, and the air smelled faintly of coffee
Everybody,
and
hands
baked
where I can
bread.
see them.
Inside the small cafe on the corner, Emma moved with a quiet confidence. She had worked there for 2
Everybody,
years,
hands where I can see
learning
them.
how to serve customers quickly and politely. Despite the noise, she always smiled and spoke in a calm, even voice. Emma
Everybody
liked her
stay
job.
calm.
It was simple,
Nobody
yet it
move.
gave her the chance to meet different people every day. Some were regulars who came for their morning coffee, while others were strangers passing through the busy streets. She remembered their favorite orders and sometimes even guessed what they wanted before they spoke. Today she carried trays full of sandwiches and drinks, weaving smoothly between tables without bumping into anyone. Near the back of the cafe, a man sat alone at a small table. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his hair neatly combed, and he had an expensive-looking watch on his wrist. He was Daniel, a billionaire who owned businesses in multiple countries. Unlike many of the people who knew him, he preferred to watch life from a distance. He liked to observe people, to see how they reacted to ordinary and unexpected situations. Today he noticed Emma more than usual. She worked steadily, never showing stress or annoyance even when a customer dropped a cup or a chair scraped the floor. Daniel had seen hundreds of people under pressure, but few handled it with such calmness. There was something about the way she moved, the way she smiled, that made him pause. He couldn't take his eyes off her. He wondered how someone so young and ordinary could carry herself with such quiet strength. Emma's thoughts were elsewhere, focused on her work. She enjoyed the little interactions with customers, a joke here, a friendly greeting there. She liked making people feel comfortable. Today the cafe was particularly busy. Families, office workers, and a few tourists filled every table. The clatter of dishes and the hum of conversation made the cafe lively. But Emma stayed focused. She balanced trays with steady hands, moved efficiently, and always checked to make sure no one spilled their food or drink. Daniel watched as she guided an elderly woman to a chair, lifting a small bag for her, and then smiled gently as she handed her order. He noticed the way she spoke softly to a child who had accidentally dropped his cookie. She crouched down, talking to him at eye level, and helped him clean up without making him feel embarrassed. It was a small moment, but it said a lot about her character. The door opened suddenly, letting in a rush of cold air, and Daniel barely noticed. He was still studying Emma. She carried a tray with 3 cups of coffee, her hands steady, her steps careful. She didn't rush even though the cafe was crowded. Every movement she made was thoughtful and controlled. Daniel leaned back in his chair, intrigued. He had seen many people face stress, but Emma seemed immune to it. She had a calmness that almost seemed unusual in a world where people hurried and worried constantly. Emma went from table to table, serving food and drinks, checking in on people, and always smiling. She didn't complain when a customer asked for something special, or when a regular spilled their drink. Her day was busy, but she didn't seem tired. Daniel realized that what he was seeing wasn't just skill. It was patience, kindness, and strength. He found himself thinking about how different the world could be if everyone carried themselves like Emma. As Emma returned to the counter to collect empty plates, she caught Daniel looking at her. She gave a small nod and a friendly smile. Daniel smiled back, feeling a strange mix of admiration and curiosity. He had never met her before, yet he felt as if he already knew her character through her actions. It was rare to see someone who acted with courage and calm without even knowing there was danger ahead. Daniel's phone vibrated, but he ignored it. Today he wanted to watch. He wanted to see how Emma handled the busy crowd, the small accidents, and the pressures of the job. Little did he know he was about to witness a moment that would test her courage in a way that no one expected. But for now, she moved through the cafe like a quiet force, calm, careful, and completely in control of her world. Customers came and went, laughing and chatting, and Emma continued to serve them with grace. Daniel could feel a sense of admiration growing inside him. He had seen many impressive people in his life, but Emma's calm determination was something he had never experienced. It was as if she had a secret strength, a way to face challenges without fear. And as the lunch crowd kept growing, Daniel knew that he would remember this day for a long time. He didn't yet understand how extraordinary Emma truly was, but he could sense that her story was just beginning. The cafe hummed with life, the sound of laughter and conversation filling every corner. Emma moved steadily between tables, carrying plates and cups, her hands never trembling. She greeted each customer with a gentle smile and a polite word. The lunch crowd was busy, yet she seemed untouched by the noise and the rush. Daniel watched her from his corner seat, fascinated. He had always enjoyed observing people, but Emma's calmness in the middle of chaos was remarkable. He leaned back in his chair, thinking about how rare it was to see someone handle pressure so naturally. Little did he know he was about to witness a test of her courage that would be far greater than anything he had imagined. Suddenly, the cafe door slammed open with a loud bang. The sound made several customers jump. Two men wearing masks and dark clothing rushed in. Their voices were loud and commanding as they demanded money from the cashier. The room fell silent for a moment, the cheerful energy replaced by a tense, fearful atmosphere. Some customers froze in place. Others ducked behind chairs or hid under tables. The two men moved quickly, waving their hands and shouting orders. Their presence was frightening, and panic began to spread through the cafe like a wave. Emma's heart beat faster, but she did not let fear control her actions. Instead of panicking, she continued to move calmly. She guided a small child under the counter, speaking softly to him to keep him quiet. She helped an elderly couple sit safely in a corner, gently taking their hands and reassuring them that everything would be all right. Her calmness was like a quiet shield, making those around her feel safer despite the chaos. Daniel's eyes widened. He had seen many emergencies in his life, but few people had the ability to remain so composed. Emma's movements were smooth and deliberate, each step measured. She never made sudden motions that could attract unwanted attention. She kept her voice low and gentle, talking to the frightened customers and offering words of comfort. The robbers, frustrated by the lack of immediate chaos, shouted louder. They waved their arms and tried to intimidate the people, but Emma's calm presence seemed to slow them down. She moved closer to the tables, helping anyone who looked scared, without drawing the attention of the men. Her focus was on keeping everyone safe. Daniel realized that Emma's courage was not loud or flashy. It was quiet and steady. He noticed how she made eye contact with some of the customers, nodding reassuringly and keeping them calm. Her actions were simple, but they had a powerful effect. People who had been terrified now started to breathe more steadily, their panic slowly easing. He picked up his phone slowly, careful not to draw attention. He called the authorities, speaking quietly so the robbers would not hear. He explained the situation, giving details about the number of people and the layout of the cafe. All the while, he continued to watch Emma, amazed by her ability to manage fear and danger with poise. One of the robbers moved closer to the cash register, shouting orders. Emma took a deep breath and moved near a group of customers who looked the most frightened. She whispered to them, keeping their minds off the danger. Her voice was calm and steady, almost like a teacher speaking to children. The customers began to follow her instructions without hesitation, moving slowly to safer positions. Minutes felt like hours. The tension in the room was thick, but Emma never faltered. She kept checking on everyone, helping them stay quiet and composed. Her courage was quiet, but it radiated through the room. Daniel felt a deep respect for her, realizing that true bravery was not always about confronting danger aggressively, but about protecting others with calm and careful actions. Outside, sirens began to grow louder. The sound of approaching help gave the cafe a renewed sense of hope. Emma's eyes flicked to the door briefly, acknowledging the approaching authorities, but she never stopped her careful work. She continued guiding the customers to safer spots, making sure no one panicked. Daniel rose slightly in his seat, ready to help if needed. He could see the robbers were becoming impatient, glancing nervously at the windows and the door. Emma's calmness had created a small bubble of control in a room that could have erupted into chaos. She had managed to turn fear into quiet order, simply by staying composed and thinking clearly. When the police finally entered, the robbers panicked, trying to escape. Officers quickly moved in to secure the situation. The room, once filled with fear, was now filled with relief. Customers began to stand, thanking Emma quietly for her guidance. Daniel approached her slowly, his admiration obvious. He offered her a smile and a simple word of thanks, but he knew it was not enough to honor her courage. Emma felt her heart slow as the tension melted away. She had never thought of herself as brave. She only did what she felt was right in that moment, helping. A few days later, Emma met Daniel in a quiet office building. The room was bright, filled with sunlight streaming through the large windows. Daniel had prepared a small meeting area with chairs and a table. Emma entered, feeling a mix of curiosity and nervousness. She had never been in a place like this before, and the thought of working with someone so successful made her heart race. Daniel greeted her with a warm smile. "I'm glad you came, Emma. Today I want to show you what we do and how you can be part of it." Emma nodded politely, trying to calm her nerves. "I am ready to learn," she said softly. Daniel began explaining his projects. They were focused on helping communities, supporting small businesses, and creating opportunities for people who needed them the most. Emma listened carefully, taking in every detail. She realized that the work was not about money or fame, but about making a real difference in people's lives. "You have qualities that are very rare, Emma," Daniel said. "Courage, calmness, kindness, and the ability to think clearly in difficult situations. Most people lose their focus under pressure, but you do not. That is why I want you to be part of this team. You can help guide others, lead small projects, and make an impact that goes far beyond what you have done so far." Emma felt a mix of pride and nervousness. She had never imagined herself in a position of responsibility like this. She thought about the cafe, the robbery, and the way she had guided people calmly through danger. She realized that the same qualities she had used there could be used to help many more people. I don't know if I am ready," she admitted quietly. "I have never done anything like this before." Daniel nodded. "You do not have to be perfect, Emma. You just need to be yourself. You already have the most important qualities. Everything else can be learned with time and practice. I will guide you and we will start slowly. You do not have to do everything at once." Emma took a deep breath, thinking carefully. She looked at Daniel and saw the sincerity in his eyes. He believed in her, and that gave her courage. "Okay," she said finally. "I will try." Over the next few weeks, Emma began working with Daniel on small projects. At first, she observed more than she acted. She attended meetings, listened to discussions, and took notes. She watched how Daniel and his team communicated, made decisions, and solved problems. Slowly, she began to understand how her calmness and careful thinking could be useful in this new world. One day, she was asked to lead a small team for a community project. The task was to organize a local event that would bring together families and small business owners. Emma felt nervous at first. She had never led anyone before, and she worried about making mistakes. But she remembered the robbery at the cafe and how she had stayed calm under pressure. She realized that the same principles applied here: focus, careful thinking, and helping others feel safe and confident. Emma planned the event carefully. She spoke to her team with patience and clarity, assigning tasks based on each person's strengths. She visited the location, checked the arrangements, and made sure every detail was considered. Her calm and organized approach inspired her team to work efficiently and confidently. The day of the event arrived. Families came, children played games, and small business owners displayed their products. Emma moved through the crowd, helping with questions, guiding volunteers, and making sure everything ran smoothly. She noticed how her calmness helped others feel relaxed and confident. Even minor problems like a table tipping over or a small argument between vendors were handled quickly because she stayed composed. Daniel watched from a distance, smiling. He knew Emma had found her strength. She was no longer just the quiet waitress he had seen at the cafe. She had become a leader, someone who could guide others with confidence and kindness. People respected her not because of her position or power, but because of her actions and her calm demeanor. At the end of the event, Emma felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had faced new challenges, guided a team, and helped create a successful and happy day for the community. She realized that her courage and composure were not only useful in emergencies but also in everyday life when leading, planning, and helping others. Daniel approached her, handing her a cup of tea. "You did very well today, Emma," he said. "You handled everything with care and calmness. You have a real talent for leadership, and this is only the beginning." Emma smiled softly, feeling a sense of confidence she had never known before. "Thank you," she said. "I am learning so much and I want to keep improving." Daniel nodded. "And you will. You have the most important qualities, Emma. The rest will come with experience. I believe you can do even more than you realize." As Emma left the office that evening, she felt a quiet pride. Her life was changing, not because of money or fame, but because she had discovered her own strength. She had realized that courage, calmness, and kindness could open doors she had never imagined. And for the first time, she felt that her future was full of possibilities. Weeks had passed since Emma had joined Daniel's team. She had settled into her new role, learning the rhythm of the projects and the responsibilities that came with them. Each day brought new challenges, but she met them with the same calm and careful approach that had impressed Daniel from the start. Her confidence was growing, and people around her began to notice her natural ability to lead. One morning, Daniel invited Emma to a meeting for a larger project. It involved helping a community that had recently faced difficulties due to a local business closure. The project required careful planning, coordination with multiple teams, and strong leadership to ensure that resources were distributed fairly and effectively. Emma felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. She knew this task would test her in ways she had never been tested before. "You are ready for this, Emma," Daniel said as they walked into the meeting room. "I want you to take the lead on organizing the teams and planning the schedule. I will guide you, but this is your project to manage." Emma took a deep breath, thinking carefully. She had experience now, and she trusted herself. "I will do my best," she said with quiet determination. The meeting began. Emma listened to each team member's suggestions and concerns. She asked thoughtful questions, ensuring she understood every detail. Then she began to assign tasks, balancing each person's strengths with the needs of the project. Her voice was calm but firm, and her team responded with respect and enthusiasm. They could see that she had a clear vision, and her composure inspired confidence. Over the next few days, Emma worked tirelessly. She visited the community, met with local leaders, and coordinated volunteers. She made sure everyone had the information they needed and resolved conflicts calmly. Minor problems arose, such as a delayed shipment of supplies and miscommunication between volunteers. Each time, Emma handled the situation without panic. She stayed focused, analyzed the problem, and guided her team toward solutions. Daniel observed her closely throughout the process. He was impressed not only by her skill, but by her ability to keep everyone motivated. People listened to her because she remained calm and thoughtful, even when others became frustrated. She was not commanding or forceful. She simply guided with patience and intelligence. One afternoon, a sudden rainstorm threatened the outdoor setup for an event supporting local families. Volunteers panicked, unsure of how to protect the supplies and equipment. Emma quickly stepped in. She calmly instructed the volunteers to move tables, cover materials with tarps, and help families find safe spots under temporary shelters. Her clear instructions and calm demeanor prevented chaos. By the time the storm had passed, everything was in place, and the community members were safe. Daniel watched the scene from a distance, quietly proud. He realized that Emma's calmness was not just a personal trait. It was a gift that helped others feel secure and capable. She had grown into a leader naturally, using her courage, patience, and intelligence to inspire confidence in others. As the project progressed, Emma continued to organize workshops, distribute supplies, and coordinate volunteers. She found that her ability to stay calm under pressure allowed her to see solutions others might miss. Her decisions were thoughtful, fair, and effective. People began to trust her judgment, seeking her advice and relying on her guidance. By the end of the week, the project had achieved remarkable success. Families received the support they needed. Local businesses were assisted, and volunteers left feeling motivated and appreciated. Emma stood quietly, watching the community come together. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that her efforts had made a real difference. Daniel approached her, smiling. "You did exceptionally well, Emma. This project was complicated, but you managed it with grace and intelligence. People responded to your calmness and confidence, and it made everything work smoothly. You have a real talent for leadership, and today it showed beautifully." Emma smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "Thank you, Daniel. I only did what I could. The team helped a lot, too. I just tried to stay calm and think clearly." Daniel nodded. "That is exactly what makes you remarkable, Emma. You lead not by force but by example. That is rare. And it is why you can do even more in the future." As Emma left the project site that evening, she reflected on how far she had come. From the quiet cafe where she had once served customers, she was now guiding teams and creating. The police had taken control of the situation, and the robbers were quickly escorted away. The cafe slowly returned to normal, but the air still carried a mix of relief and lingering tension. Customers whispered to each other about how brave Emma had been. Daniel remained in his corner seat, watching her quietly, unable to look away. Emma moved carefully, checking on each customer to make sure everyone was okay. She helped an elderly man collect his belongings and handed a napkin to a young woman whose drink had spilled. Even in this moment of relief, she remained calm and attentive. She did not rush, and she did not let the excitement or fear from earlier affect her composure. Daniel stood up and walked slowly toward her, his mind racing. He had seen many dramatic situations in his life, but few had left such an impression on him. Most people, he realized, either panicked or froze when faced with danger. Emma, however, had acted with quiet control. She had instinctively guided others, calming fears and thinking clearly. Her courage had not been loud or flashy. It had been steady and effective. "Are you okay?" Daniel asked gently as he approached. Emma looked up at him, giving a small smile. "I'm fine. Everyone else seems safe, and that is what matters most." Her voice was soft, yet it carried strength. Daniel nodded, impressed. "You were amazing back there. Most people would have panicked, but you stayed calm and helped everyone." Emma shrugged lightly. "I just did what I could. I didn't want anyone to get hurt." There was something in her simple words that struck Daniel. It was not only her bravery that impressed him, but her humility. She had acted without thinking about recognition or praise. Her focus had been on helping others, not herself. He realized that courage like hers was rare and remarkable. The cafe began to return to its usual rhythm. Customers resumed their conversations, and the staff quietly cleaned up the mess. Emma continued her work, checking on tables, clearing plates, and serving drinks. She moved with the same calm energy as if nothing had happened. Daniel continued to watch, noticing the small details: how she carefully wiped a spill, how she reassured a nervous customer with a smile, and how she never lost her focus. Daniel decided to stay a while longer. He wanted to observe her more, to understand what made her so steady under pressure. He noticed how she communicated with kindness and respect, even to those who were frustrated or upset. It was clear that she had a natural ability to connect with people, to make them feel safe and valued. As he watched, he began to think about the possibilities. Someone with Emma's calmness and courage could do amazing things if given the right opportunities. She had a rare combination of strength, intelligence, and empathy. Daniel realized that her actions today were not just about surviving a dangerous moment. They revealed qualities that could have a lasting impact on many people. Emma paused for a moment, catching her breath. She leaned against the counter and quietly looked around the cafe, making sure everything was in order. Daniel approached her again, this time with a more deliberate step. "I have to say, Emma, what you did back there. It really impressed me," he said. "I watch people in all kinds of situations, and few handle themselves like you did." Emma smiled politely. "Thank you. I just tried to help where I could. It was scary, but I didn't want anyone to panic." Daniel's admiration grew. He found himself thinking beyond this moment. He wanted to meet her outside the cafe, to know more about the person who could stay so calm and kind in a moment of danger. He wondered what kind of life she had led, what experiences had shaped her, and how someone so ordinary in appearance could carry such extraordinary strength. "Would you like to have a coffee sometime? Outside of work?" Daniel asked carefully. "I'd like to talk to you and learn more about you." Emma blinked in surprise. She was not expecting such a question from a stranger, especially someone who looked so important, but there was something in Daniel's eyes that felt sincere. She nodded gently. "Sure, I'd like that." Daniel smiled, feeling a sense of excitement. This small connection felt important. He realized that meeting Emma was no accident. Something about her had caught his attention, and he knew that their paths crossing could lead to something significant. As he left the cafe that afternoon, Daniel's mind was full of thoughts about Emma. Her courage had impressed him, but her calmness and kindness had touched him even more. He knew that this was just the beginning of a story that neither of them could fully understand yet. Emma returned to her work, unaware of the depth of Daniel's thoughts. She cleaned tables, served drinks, and continued to greet customers with a friendly smile. Yet something had changed too. She had felt the recognition of someone who noticed her actions, and it gave her a quiet sense of confidence. The city outside continued its busy rhythm, but inside the cafe, a new story had begun. One of courage, respect, and a connection that could change both their lives in ways they could not yet imagine. The next morning, the cafe opened as usual. The sun streamed through the large windows, casting warm light over the wooden tables. Emma arrived early, ready to begin her shift. She liked the quiet mornings before the lunch crowd arrived, when she could organize the tables, polish the counters, and greet the first customers with a calm smile. Today, however, her mind wandered. She thought about the previous day and the events that had unfolded. The robbery replayed in her mind like a slow-motion scene. She remembered the fear in the customers' eyes, the sudden noise, and the way she had moved to protect them. Emma had never thought of herself as especially brave, but now she realized that staying calm had made a difference. She had helped people feel safe when everything seemed chaotic. Thinking about it gave her a quiet sense of pride, though she would never speak loudly about it. Daniel had not forgotten either. After leaving the cafe yesterday, he had returned to his office, yet his thoughts kept drifting back to Emma. He could not stop thinking about her composure, her kindness, and the way she had handled the situation. In all his years of observing people, few had impressed him as much as she had. He decided that he wanted to meet her again, to learn more about her, and perhaps to give her an opportunity to use her talents in a bigger way. Later that morning, Daniel returned to the cafe. He entered quietly, taking a small table near the corner where he could observe without interrupting. Emma noticed him and smiled politely, her greeting calm and professional. She had not expected to see him again so soon, yet there was a familiarity that felt comforting. "Good morning, Daniel," she said as she carried a tray past his table. "Good morning, Emma," he replied warmly. "I was hoping to see you again. I wanted to talk to you about something." Emma paused, setting down the tray for a customer. "About what?" she asked curiously. Daniel smiled. "I noticed how you handled the robbery yesterday. You stayed calm, guided people safely, and kept everyone focused. It was remarkable. I think your abilities could be valuable in ways beyond this cafe." Emma tilted her head, unsure what he meant. "I just did what I thought was right," she said quietly. "I know," Daniel said. "But what you did shows that you have courage, patience, and the ability to lead even in difficult moments. Not everyone has that. I would like to offer you a chance to use these qualities in a project I am working on. It would give you a platform to help many people and make a real difference." Emma was surprised. She had never imagined that her actions in a single moment could lead to something like this. Her life had always been ordinary, working shifts at the cafe, saving money, and helping her family when she could. She had never thought of herself as someone who could lead or inspire others. Daniel continued, noticing her hesitation. "I don't want you to feel pressured. I simply want you to think about it. If you are interested, we can meet and discuss how you could get involved. You have qualities that are rare, and I believe they could make a difference." Emma considered his words carefully. Part of her felt nervous, unsure if she was ready for such a responsibility. But another part of her felt a quiet excitement. She realized that her calmness and courage were not just traits for surviving emergencies. They were strengths she could use to help more people. I would like to learn more," she said finally. "I have never done anything like that before, but I am willing to try." Daniel's eyes lit up. "That is all I ask, Emma. We can start small and I will guide you. You have already shown the most important qualities: calmness, intelligence, and compassion. Everything else can be learned along the way." For the next few hours, they talked quietly while the cafe continued its morning routine. Daniel explained some of the projects he was involved in, how they helped communities, and the kind of people he looked for to lead small teams. Emma listened carefully, absorbing each word. She began to imagine a life where her actions could make a real impact, beyond the walls of the cafe. When the lunch crowd began to arrive, Emma returned to her work, but a new sense of confidence filled her steps. She guided customers to their seats, served drinks, and handled requests with the same calm efficiency as always. Yet there was a subtle change. She carried herself with a quiet pride, knowing that someone recognized her strengths and believed in her potential. Daniel watched her, feeling a growing sense of admiration. He realized that his next move would not just surprise the world, but it would also give Emma the opportunity to shine. Emma had grown more confident over the past few weeks. She had learned to organize teams, handle unexpected problems, and guide people with patience and clarity. Daniel had noticed her progress and knew she was ready for a bigger challenge. Today, she was about to face a project that would test her skills in ways she had never imagined. The new project involved a local school that needed support to create a safe and engaging playground for children. The task required careful planning, coordination with contractors, volunteers, and parents, and attention to detail to make sure everything was safe and enjoyable. Emma felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness as Daniel briefed her. "You have done very well so far, Emma," Daniel said. "This project is more complicated, but I believe you are ready. Your calmness and decision-making will guide the team, and I will support you if needed." Emma nodded, taking a deep breath. "I will do my best. I will plan carefully and make sure everyone works together." She began by visiting the school and inspecting the playground area. She took notes on what equipment could be used, how the space could be organized safely, and what materials were needed. She spoke to teachers, parents, and volunteers, listening to their suggestions and concerns. Emma made sure everyone felt heard, creating an atmosphere of trust and collaboration. Back at the office, Emma organized her team. She assigned responsibilities based on each person's strengths, making sure everyone understood their role. Her instructions were clear and calm, and the team responded positively. They trusted her because she stayed composed even when challenges arose. The first major challenge came when the supplier informed Emma that some of the playground equipment would be delayed. Volunteers were worried, and parents were anxious about the schedule. Emma took a deep breath and calmly explained the situation to the team. She quickly suggested alternative tasks, such as painting benches, planting flowers, and preparing safety instructions. By keeping everyone busy and focused, she prevented panic and frustration. Daniel watched from a distance, impressed by her composure. He realized that Emma's ability to stay calm under pressure was not just helpful, it inspired confidence in others. People followed her guidance because they knew she had a plan, even when problems arose. Another challenge came when heavy rain threatened the construction schedule. Emma quickly assessed the situation and made a decision. She instructed the volunteers to cover materials, move equipment to safe areas, and continue tasks that could be done indoors. Her clear instructions and calm attitude prevented confusion and ensured safety. By the time the rain stopped, the project was back on track without delay. Throughout the project, Emma demonstrated careful thinking and strong leadership. She encouraged her team, praised their efforts, and ensured that every decision prioritized the safety and happiness of the children. Parents and teachers noticed her dedication and often expressed their gratitude. By the final day, the playground was complete. Children ran freely on the new equipment, laughing and playing with joy. Parents and teachers gathered around, thanking Emma and her team for their hard work. Volunteers smiled proudly, knowing that Emma's guidance had made the project successful. Daniel approached her, smiling widely. "Emma, this is extraordinary. You handled every challenge with calmness and intelligence. You kept the team focused, made decisions under pressure, and created something wonderful for the community. I'm proud of you." Emma smiled softly, feeling a quiet pride. "Thank you, Daniel. I just tried to stay calm and think carefully. Everyone helped a lot, too." Daniel nodded. "That is true, but it was your leadership that made the difference. You turned problems into solutions and guided people to success. This is a quality few possess." Emma realized something important as she watched the children play. Courage was not only about facing danger or difficult situations. It was about taking responsibility, staying calm under pressure, helping others, and making thoughtful decisions. She had discovered that her own courage and calmness could inspire confidence and create positive change in the lives of many people. That evening, as Emma left the school, she felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced her first major project, handled unexpected problems, and led a team successfully. Her confidence had grown, and she understood the value of her calm and careful approach. Daniel walked beside her for a while, discussing the project's outcomes and praising her efforts. He knew that Emma had become someone capable of handling even greater responsibilities. She had grown from a quiet, observant waitress into a strong, intelligent, and compassionate leader. As they said goodbye, Emma looked back at the playground, watching the children play happily. She felt a quiet pride in what they had achieved. She realized that her journey was far from over. Many more challenges awaited, but she knew now that her calmness, courage, and careful thinking could guide her through any situation. For the first time, Emma truly understood the impact of her actions. What she had once thought were simple traits were now powerful tools that could change lives, inspire people, and create opportunities she had never imagined. She smiled, knowing that this was just the beginning of a remarkable journey. Months had passed since Emma first joined Daniel's team. She had grown in confidence, skill, and leadership. Projects that once seemed intimidating were now opportunities for her to shine. Communities flourished under her guidance, and teams responded to her calm direction with efficiency and enthusiasm. People began to notice her, not only for her results but for the way she inspired those around her. One morning, Daniel called Emma to his office with an unusual sense of excitement. "Emma," he said, "I want to do something that will give your work the recognition it deserves. You have transformed lives, inspired communities, and shown incredible leadership. The world should see this." Emma looked puzzled. "I don't need recognition, Daniel. I just want to help people and do my best." Daniel smiled. "That is why you are extraordinary. But your efforts can inspire even more people if they know your story. I have arranged for a public announcement of your work. We will highlight your projects and show the world the difference you have made. People will see that true courage and leadership come from calmness, kindness, and intelligence." Emma felt a mix of nervousness and excitement. She had never sought attention, yet she realized that sharing her story could encourage others to act with courage and compassion. She agreed, trusting Daniel's judgment. The announcement was made at a community center filled with local leaders, volunteers, and families who had benefited from her projects. Cameras and reporters documented the event, capturing the smiles of children playing in playgrounds Emma had helped build, the gratitude of parents, and the pride of volunteers who had worked under her guidance. Daniel stood beside her as she was introduced to the audience. "Emma is not just a leader," he said. "She is someone who has transformed her own life and the lives of many others by staying calm, thinking carefully, and acting with courage and compassion. Her story is proof that anyone, regardless of their background, can make a difference when they act with integrity and care." Emma took a deep breath and spoke to the crowd. Her voice was calm, steady, and confident. She told them about her journey, from the small cafe where she had worked as a waitress to leading projects that helped communities. She explained how courage and composure had guided her decisions and how kindness and careful thinking could create real change. The audience listened intently. Some nodded in agreement, others whispered words of admiration. Emma realized that her simple actions had grown into something far larger than she had imagined. She had not only helped communities, but had inspired countless others to believe in themselves and act with courage in their own lives. After the speech, many people approached Emma to thank her personally. Volunteers praised her guidance, parents expressed gratitude, and children smiled shyly as they shook her hand. Emma felt a warm sense of fulfillment. She had always wanted to help, and now she could see the tangible results of her efforts. Daniel watched her closely, proud of how much she had grown. He had been impressed by her calmness from the very first moment he had observed her, but he had not anticipated just how much she could achieve when given the opportunity. Her courage, kindness, and intelligence had turned her into a leader who could inspire entire communities. Later, Daniel and Emma stood together outside the community center, watching families enjoy the spaces they had helped create. "Emma," Daniel said, "your story has already inspired many people, but I believe this is only the beginning. You have the potential to impact even more lives, and I want to continue supporting you." Emma smiled softly. "I never imagined my life could change like this. I only wanted to help in the ways I could. But now I see that courage, calmness, and kindness can lead to opportunities I never dreamed of." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. You didn't seek recognition, yet your actions spoke louder than words. That is why the world is noticing. and that is why your next steps will have an even greater impact. Emma realized that her journey was far from over. She had discovered her strength, her courage, and her ability to inspire others. But she also understood that true leadership came with responsibility, the responsibility to guide, support, and help as many people as possible. As the sun began to set,